Alrighty, moving on. We have Team Aqua. Predicted placing 7th, final placing 6th. So beat their predictions by 1. Very nicely done. We had Jam, Moss, Dark Passion, Cheeto, Griffo, and Hasbro. Spider, I'll let you talk about these guys first since Run took the last team. Yeah, what did you notice about how they played?
I think before the comp, I wasn't too keen on this team. Just watching Jesse being Dark Passion and just like kind of knowing how he plays after having him in New South Wales for a while, and then seeing the kind of roster of new-ish players. I wasn't sure how it was going to go. Definitely enjoyed watching and versing this team because it just everyone played better than what I thought. Like I thought I knew Jesse, and then he came to this comp and he was playing very, very different. And I love that. I love when like you think you know someone and then they just come and like do something completely different. I just stop playing and just watch people. Like I love it. And I think yeah, they definitely did that kind of standard like strong defense with like 3/4, and Jesse would kind of like pull someone and just like hit a base, push it through, find a gap and create it, and just like yeah, whenever there was that opportunity, it was like very, very well capitalized, and I think that's probably like what got them through into the placement that they got. I think the way that they do even better is by just making like Jesse not be the only person that can do so, because I think they're very reliant on that, and that's potentially just because of the level of the competition.
Yeah, Dark Passion actually got 3rd highest destroy average for the tournament, so he's absolutely slicing through those bases like butter. So very nicely done by him. Runt, what did you notice about how this team played?
Yeah, I think that Dark Passion getting those 2 bases each game is kind of as expected. But it is what Spider was saying is he probably needs to be able to swap out after that, because I didn't see him on defense once personally, and I think you are better off letting even 2 more inexperienced attackers attack when they have both base opportunities. I could be wrong here, but I just thought I saw him at bases a fair bit, which he already had, trying to push someone through, which is, if a team knows to just target the player that needs, a very tough ordeal. I think they kind of went into this running the standard structure of the 4-1 that works in every other maze. And yeah, I think they kind of got punished for that a little bit. Just kind of like overly defensive, not opening up the game when they need to open up with it. I don't know. It's tough to say because they had a decent amount of success with it, obviously, but I feel like with this team they could have gone further. Personally, if they played a bit more aggressively with all their players on the field. Yeah, definitely like solid Queensland players as you'd expect. They all play well. They're all good pack on pack, all that good stuff. So yeah.
Now we saw Hasbro at he made his debut at Prenets 1, but we had two more newbies from Queensland in Jam and Cheeto. How did those 2 players go? I'm curious to see if they're still pumping whatever they've got pumping in the waters up in Queensland.
Queensland factory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot from Jam, but I had heaps of collisions with Cheeto in the maze, and I think I was like spilling compliments everywhere. Like whenever I'm playing a game, I don't normally talk much. I'm kind of just like resting bitch face. Yeah, Cheeto was like the one person that just like made me laugh and smile a bit, and I was just like, "Oi, I just got like demolished." I was just getting worked in like different spots, and it's that classic like you haven't seen this person play before, you haven't versed them, so you assume then like not going to have much experience, but then you just get worked, and you're like, "Oh, fair play." I think yeah, I think that was good, and Hazmat was just like one of those players that's very composed, and I think just doesn't like overdo anything, not from what I've seen. So shout out to Hazmat as well, or Hasbro.
Yeah, I think it was Hazmat at Nats, but on the Retro form, at Pre-Nats, but it was Hasbro on the Retro form, maybe? I don't know. Whatever.
One or the other.
Hazmat, Hasbro, make up your mind, bro. Run. What about you? Did there see any crazy plays from these Queensland newbies?
Not in particular. It was I
Hunt's
wouldn't
not
be
impressed, guys. This guy, this is also the guy that's leading the stats for everything. You know, don't
no,
take it to heart.
and I feel so bad because I feel like I only versed them like 2 or 3 times throughout the whole comp, and each time they were just running a very heavy defense with Dark Passion running around.
Yeah.
So I think I only saw one factor of their play style in my games with them because they were playing us. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't get the full picture of the team, so I can't actually judge that adequately. My player of the team, from what I saw, would just be Hasbro. He's just very solid under those bases, good discipline, all that good stuff.
I don't know if you guys can hear me, and I don't know if I'm interrupting someone, but my headset's just stopped making noise. So I'm going to restart my headset, and then I'll be back. Runt's smiling, so I think they can hear me. In the meantime, gentlemen, can you talk a little bit about... So my understanding is that this team won't be the team at Nationals, because I think Dark Passion is playing on the new Eclipse team, but I think Griffo is going to be playing with Hasbro, Cheeto, and Jam, and then Moss is going to be moving back to Sunshine Coast Storm. But anyway, in terms of like maybe individual play or something, what can these guys improve on before the next tournament? I'm going to fix my headset, so I'm here, but I'll be back.
You first?
I just feel so mean.
I'm sure they appreciate it, right?
Yeah, okay. To me, it felt like a 4-man D, but you could just walk in a door. It felt like a 4-man D, but it kept on pushing out very far, obviously to get field points to not get starved, because you need to do that in a 4-man D. But then they'd push out far enough where the doors were just open. I think every game I versed these guys, I kind of just walked in a door, shot Hasbro, and he's like, "Where are the calls, guys?" And I'm like, "I didn't see anyone, man. You're unlucky." And like, it was while there was a 4-man D. I just walked dead past behind them in their push positions. So I think they really need to figure out the lines aside of the maze and go, if I'm pushed up to here, where can people walk past me? Just because we have numbers at a defense doesn't mean there aren't blind spots, and I think that's a trap a lot of teams fall into. And I mean, I'm definitely exploiting home side advantage by just being like, I can just walk here and nobody sees me. Sick. But there are like only 2 ways of access to each base in Hobart, so usually you want to push in a position where you can see both, even if you do have those 4 players at home.
Yeah, I think I don't want to try and like read someone's mind, but I think when you go into a comp, especially a pre-nats, you're like, all right, are we playing to learn or are we playing to like place? And I think potentially this team was like, we've learned as much as we can up to this point of the competition, and at some point they just made that flick to be like, all right, let's just like place the best we can. And I think that's why we didn't see much like chop and change in strategy. It was kind of like the same thing because they knew they could do decently well with that strategy. It seems to be a thing every time I verse Dark Passion and Griffo, but we always end up in like that double elim game and we like just beat them by like half a tag, and it's always the same situation. So I think like they could have placed a bit higher, they could have placed a bit lower, but I think they did like a good spot for where they are. I don't have any other advice besides trying to like mix up the strategy a little bit more, pass responsibility on. And I think, yeah, basically what you said is like a rule of thumb for every team going into Hobart. And that's just like really learn the lines of sight, because especially with the changes between pre-1 and pre-2, it changed everything. Like all the push positions were like that little bit different and you were a bit more blind. And I think that caught like heaps of teams off guard.
No worries. I am back in business, by the way. I don't know what happened. My headset just kind of like... It's not flat or anything, though. Yes, very, very nicely put, gentlemen. I don't really think I have anything to add. You said everything I would have said, but you know, kudos to, you know, beating the predictions by 1. Very nicely done. I'm pretty sure all of these players will be at Pre-Nuts 3 in their actual teams. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how, you know, how that changes things and how everyone plays and how everyone does and all of that sort of cool fun stuff. All right. Any last things before we move on to the 5th place team?
Did you guys do your like player of the team or whatever?
Oh yeah, player of the team. Stand up player of the team, and we'll move on.
I'll stick with Cheeto. I think like there's names that you could put out there, but I think not really knowing Cheeto very well and seeing such like a solid performance personally, yeah, I think it was just like good to see. Just get absolutely wrecked.
Hold on, Cheeto.
Yeah.
Run.
Oh yeah, I already went over Hasbro. I just think his anchor's very nice and solid.
Cool. Very nice and solid. That's the words you want to hear when you're a last line defender. Anyway, moving on before we open that can of worms again. 5th place team. We have Rampage. The boys.
The boys.
4th. So you drop 1 from your predicted placings. We had Spider, Zam, Polchrome, Zadlam, and Wildcard. Now I believe Princess was supposed to be at this comp, but he pulled out last minute, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just had personal things going on, as we all have. Everything looks great, and then yeah, just like work messes you up and all that kind of stuff. So it was a bit unfortunate. There was like a specific point in the competition where we were having a team chat, and I was like, "Oh, I can't figure it out. We'll just call Princess." And so we just called him up whilst he was at work, and asked him like, "How do you play this spot? What were you doing?"
That's funny.
But that made him feel really good because it's like, yeah, we actually need you. So yeah, that was a highlight of our competition. That was great.
Happy days. In terms of standout stats before we move on, Spider, you led the competition once again, 2 times in a row in tag ratio. You also had the 3rd highest score ratio and the 2nd highest GRC behind Brendan.
Your team... the tag ratios on the last day, you bastard.
Let's go. In terms of team average, this is where we start seeing some interesting stuff. So your team on average had the 2nd highest tag ratio of the tournament, 3rd highest score ratio in GRC, 2nd highest denies for, and you were on average the least denied team of the tournament. So some cheeky little stats for you. Spider, why don't you take it away? This is your team. So what can you tell us about how you were playing without spilling the beans?
I'll spill all the beans.
There's beans everywhere, all over my desk, in my keyboard, on my pants.
Free nachos. I think I can explain our stats very easily. We're like a super defensive team, and we love playing like slow and composed, and like calculating things and like kind of pushing in the right spots. Pre-1 was like a good feeler. Pre-2, not such a good feeler. We were trying to like do everything we did, but like do it better and faster. And it just didn't really work. And a lot of that does come down to Princess not being there. He's one of our like door defenders. And so not having that, we had to put someone in his spot, and that changes our pushes completely. However, very good training. I think our not getting denied, like getting denied the least is because we just don't take bases. It's like most of the bases we took were like dump bases or whatever. So if you get denied there, like that's just unfortunate. And our heavy base defense obviously like opens up way more potential for denials. So like most of those stats are covered. I think as a team we did well, and we learned a lot. It's kind of like we had some pretty like harsh open conversations as a team in team chats and at accommodation, being like, this is what we're meant to do, you weren't here, and it's like all your fault, and this is why we lost. And it's really good to like lose those games. We had one game specifically that we won by a mile, and we thought it was the worst game we'd played in the whole comp, and that just like annoyed us so much, because when you win when you suck like is the worst feeling ever. So yeah, I think it was good that we lost as many games as we did. All these different teams beat us because we messed up, and if we're not getting punished for that, then like we'll just keep messing up. So I think it was really good. I'm glad this was a pre-nats and not a nationals. Otherwise, it would have like hit a lot harder. But really keen to see like how that sets us up for pre-3, because having like a decent pre-1 and then this pre-2. I think, yeah, pre-3 should be like really, really nice for us.
Sorry, I'm just addressing something in the chat. Now, obviously, all of Rampage has watched the Stop Getting Denied video by the Laser Sports Academy 3 times at least.
Yeah.
each. And they've all liked it, and they're all subscribed. Isn't that right, Spider?
That's it. I force feed it to them.
That's good. Well, guys, if you want to be the least denied team of a comp, watch my Stop Getting Denied video, and also just only take dump days. That also does help.
Let's get it.
Yeah, Runt, what did you notice about Rampage?
They were almost identical to Prenuts one. What they do different. I would say the main difference with versing these guys is I thought their pack on pack was actually very improved. I think Polchrome especially, probably, and honestly even Spider. Zam, I think, was very impressive to me on H2 at Prenuts 1, but I feel like Spider's really picked it up this comp. Like, you were good when you picked it up, but that comp you felt oppressive like you normally do on H Pro. So I think Spider's in the place where he's had enough practice to be super dominant on panels the way that we're used to him being. So that's fun. Yeah. That sucked. They played a game where both Max and Spider just followed me around.
That was great.
Yeah. I think that was like the one game I was going like well negative. It sucked so bad. So yeah, their pack on pack is definitely better. What I will say is I think Wildcard needs some work on Anchor to be more aggressive with it. He feels like he's scared for his life when he's standing on a panel. His back so far that he can't really see doors that well. I feel is what's happening. So a lot of his shots are super late and is getting a lot of doubles or deaths because of that. So I think we need to look at his holds and develop them in a way and develop his confidence in a way that he can feel comfortable leaning out further and seeing more of the door. And just like knowing where his senses are and just trusting that they won't be shot if you look out the doors further. So yeah. That's my main takeaway from this team is the nitty-gritty pack stuff.
Yeah. In terms of standout players, Spider, I'll get you to start because that's just awkward choosing a standout player for your own team, and I think that's funny. So, Spider, who's the standout player for Rampage at this tournament? Do you reckon? And you can say yourself.
No, I think I think we saw it at Darwin. And like in Darwin, it was very much like a 4-1, like Spider's team. Spider does everything, and his team's just there. And seeing statistics like this, although it like feels good and looks good, it's like showing separation of me from my team, and that's not gonna like get us anywhere really in the long run. So I think in terms of standout, the person that really stepped up was Polchrome. He went from just being like this like second attack, Max or Zam would like carry him everywhere, to like with Princess not being there, he really had to step up. And like play a door and push and like make decisions like on the spot. And I think he struggled at the start and wasn't too keen on it. But when I said like you have no choice, you just have to do this, like he really took that and improved like dramatically. I think, yeah, we were talking about wildcard, but he at pre-3 could potentially be that player. He's like the next one in the team that needs to get that initiative to just like make plays. But I think Polchrome definitely like took it this comp in that regard.
Run.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think 1.2 in the positions he was playing for a tag ratio for someone that's typically been seen as a relatively new player is a very large improvement. And I thought we saw that with how he was playing. He feels a lot more confident on panels and a lot more confident to step up into new places and take more bases. He's getting denied a bit more. I think that's great. I think more denial's good, especially at the prenuts too. Just send it. So I really liked the changes we saw Polchrome go through this comp, I think.
Yep, happy days. And do you have any final bits of improvement for this team? You guys are going to Prenuts 3, aren't you, Spider?
Yes, sir.
And Princess will be there with you?
Yes.
Conservative, yes.
Yeah.
What bits of advice, we'll get Runt to start, do you have for these guys in the lead up to Prenats 3? What changes could they be making? What could they be training?
You guys should force them to play for pre-3, which is, I think, the thing he was about to say. Because, yeah, missing Zam for pre-3 is going to be rough. Do we have any more info on that?
Look, it's still like 50-50. He won't know. It's just uni based. And he's got to wait until he's like, he won't know until like 2 weeks before.
Oh, the worst.
And so we're kind of just like riding the wave. But if he's not there, then like, again, learning opportunities are us. Like,
yeah,
if that kind of position gets pulled out, then we all have to step up. So it's almost like really good if he's there, but also like borderline better if he's not.
yeah.
But yeah.
Sounds good. I think improvement for this team is Sad Lamp was a solid anchor and door defender, but I didn't really see him take any bases. So, and I think previous years he was great at taking bases. So I think he should probably be doing that a bit more, just to make sure that he feels confident in these Hobart bases. Because it's all well and good to be like, you're good, you don't need practice, but in a new maze you definitely do. So probably some more practice for Sad Lamp getting bases and getting wildcard out of the base a lot more to really build his confidence. I think is super important for these guys.
Spider, you got anything? Any hot tips on what you were going to be working on before Prenats 3?
Yeah, I think for us it's just cohesion and being able to like do pushes and like movements and coordinate without much being said. So typically it's just like, whilst I'm bringing up the team, it's more like, let's wait till Spider makes a call and then go with it. But I think it's more like, see the opportunity, take it, and if it backfires, then just like be like, oh yeah, whoops, kind of like accept it. And I think that also starts with me doing the same thing. So we've had some big chats and it's like, oh, Spider's never wrong. And it's more like, well, I'm the one that points things out. So if like we all point things out, then we all are wrong all the time. So I think we all kind of just got to like step up and play as equal. Like, even though there's like skill differences and experience differences, I think we just got to kind of like work as a team and not be afraid to be like yeah, you suck at this and just be open with it. Yeah.
Very nicely done. Any final thoughts before we move on to our 4th place team?
Not really.
Yeah, nice. All right.
Yeah, nice.
In 4th place, we had One Up. One Up didn't get a picture done. So I've drawn something up. If it doesn't make sense, then I don't know. Chat can figure it out. I'm not going to explain it to you. But on the team, we had Gunner, Vector, Guinea, and Snake, or Ginny.
Johnny.
That's the one. Predicted placing 3rd, final placing 4th. So they dropped 1 from their predictions. And in terms of big stats, the only really notable thing is that their team had the 3rd highest individual average score of the tournament by the end of it. But I think Spider took the last one. So Runt, I'll let you talk about the One Up boys.
Oh, man, I was not expecting the tag ratios to be that rough. Damn. These guys are a pack-on-pack team, and they just abuse people and rolling. So Helios 2 has hit them hard by the looks. Which isn't too surprising. A lot of they were very dominant in the open, dodging and timing people. So when the timing changes and when you've got a whole new thing you need to dodge in your phaser, it's not surprising that they're getting a bit hammered initially. I will say though, the fact that H2 has a lessened spread, I think that sort of dodging in the open is still viable. You just gotta go lean more into it probably, and just like full on proper dodges that aren't relying on timing. Try to actually dodge their shot first before shooting, that sort of thing. Because yeah, they can still panel when they're like, their high angles are still really clean and all that good stuff. It's just when they're low angles, a lot of the time the phaser just get shot. These guys often struggled in bases to like take it from a safe spot. I don't know if that makes sense. I think a lot of their best takes were like just shoot a player and then walk in the door and start shooting, which you love to see. Not many teams do it, and I think it's so fun to see from these guys. You just like kill one player on left or red and then just like step in and take from outer. That's a great play that very few teams do, that I love to see from 1UP. Their defense, going into the comp, we said they wouldn't have an anchor. They'd struggle with anchor, and I think that was probably the main thing that broke them, to be honest. All those little things I was saying earlier are like things to work on, but if you don't have an anchor, you're probably screwed, which is, I think, what we kind of saw. They didn't really have anyone that was that confident under base. So a lot of the time you could just crack bases by just like walking at them, shooting their gun, and it's a free base. And then they need to send like a 3-man attack to like recoup the losses. So I think it's that anchor player they really needed there.
Spider, take it away.
To bounce back on that end of that, when I was observing them a bit, I would realize that Snake was doing like some real fancy stuff under bases. Was playing in like really weird, unique positions. Like there's only a certain amount of spots you can hold, but like holding them in unique ways. And it was just really good to see that fresh eyes. Like some of the stuff he did in red, we just like watched and did straight away. And because we had like the discipline, it like worked really, really well. And so I think that's where they struggled at the start, was just like getting their head around the packs, understanding how brutal like they are, and how disciplined you actually have to be. Because I think our double elim knockout game in finals was against them. And yeah, like by that game, they really, really cleaned up. So I think like they keep playing and they just get like more and more confident. I think the biggest thing with this team and other teams is just being really open to the fact that times are changing. And so the player style has to change with that. You can't refuse to change, otherwise you would just like fall. And I think they refused to at the start, but then once they accepted it, they started playing some really funky games, which was nice. I think Vector in the team was like a bit of a spanner, and kind of like he's normally with Blitz, but it was really funny to watch him like dance around and play serious with 1UP. I really, really enjoyed it. I think he did well too.
Yeah, who is your standout player on this team, guys?
I think Gunner when he tried. Gunner spent a lot of this comp expecting to get kills off being dead like he would on H Pro, and he got punished for that. Once he realized he actually had to move on these packs, it brought out the best of him, which we haven't seen, I think, in quite a long time, of him darting around like he used to. So seeing that again was amazing from my eyes, when he was like actually darting around and like confusing defenders. That's what we like to see his playstyle as. I saw like a snippet of it this comp, and I really liked seeing that.
I think on my side it was probably Giddy. I think him and Wham have a very similar playstyle when it comes to like brawling, but he, similar to Wham, he kind of made that decision further through the comp to like move a bit more, dance around panels and play like angles. And I think seeing that from 1UP is like really, really big. I think I see them as like a very stationary team that doesn't like move a lot besides like Gunner. But yeah, seeing him like dance around and like actually lose people around panels was just like really enjoyable. I think that's gonna like help him a long way.
Yep. And do you know if 1UP's going to pre-nats 3 run?
They are with a huge team. It's scary. They've picked up Celery and Crouchy, and they're getting Lance back instead of Vector. And Lance is an ex-Hobart player who knows how to play the arena. So, like, I think it was a huge loss for them not having Lance in this comp, because I think it was injury. But yeah, he couldn't play, so the team seemed a bit lost. Especially in finals games when they normally lean to the 1UP strats that they like practiced a whole bunch. Like Vector was good, but he isn't practiced in that sort of stuff. Yeah. So having Lance back, having 2 new players that plugged the exact hole they needed filling of disciplined players with their phaser. I'm pretty sure Crouchy and Celery fit that exact role. So if one of them anchors, this is going to be a very, very strong team at pre-2.
So at pre-3, but yes, what
Sorry.
bits of advice do you have for them going from pre-2 to pre-3?
I think keep the trend of more movement going forward. Take the open duels when you're active. I know we said that there's no lockout or anything. There's only a fraction of a second. It's like fraction of a second, but it essentially means you usually can't come up off a deactivation and win the duel. You'll usually double at best with anyone decent. So really move around a lot when you're dead, and you can afford to be a bit more static when you're up. And yeah, just keep that movement going. Keep on training that.
Spider.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I think, yeah, I saw their roster when Reggio filled up in like 30 seconds, and I was just like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
I think going into this Nationals, like, our team has expectations, and One Up is a team that I think we're just going to clash with a lot, and that's not going to be fun. So I think watching how they came into the comp, and how much they hated it, but then how quickly they like picked up on things and like adapted it. I think once they get Lance back in the mix, and then particularly Crouchy, I think like if they do mesh really well together, like it's just game over. I think they'll boost up pretty far. And I think, yeah, I don't think there's much that they need to focus on too much. Make sure cohesion's good moving forward, and especially just make sure you're making like good decisions, not like going too crazy. Just play laser tag the way that they know it, because I think they just do well when they play standard 1-up.
And does that mean if Crouchy's on the team, does that mean Crouchy's moved from NZ to Victoria?
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. I'm pretty sure he has.
Crazy.
He's on that team for Nats as well. So
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's
I
a
didn't
big
know.
1-up team for pre-3 and Nats.
Well, yeah. Do we have any final parting thoughts for the 1-up boys before we move on?
We're playing with the idea of moving blue base, so that might help them out.
From like inside the little alcove thing to somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't love it in the new spot. It's got its issues we're gonna have to try to figure out. But yeah, I'm not sure if it'll be worth it. It's still unclear. So there's a chance,
TBA.
yeah.